up here?
All right, here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. What's up, y'all?
What's up?
Good morning.
Back for another week of FinTech with Friends, also known as Route Fusion The Fuse,
We got to name this thing officially.
also known as Hang
Yeah.
10.
It's like maybe we should just come up with a new name every week for a
Three
few
Shades
weeks.
of Gray. You haven't decided yet.
Three
have
Shades
you?
of Gray. Yeah.
Why
that
don't we
one
just do a
sounds sexual.
survey and let
Yeah.
our audience of three determine which one it is?
Yeah. I do kind of like Three Shades of Gray, but I think Route Fusion The Fuse.
I don't have enough grays for that.
Well, you know,
Nabeel can make it up for you.
Yeah.
somebody brought up a good point. It's gotta have the word fintech in it because it's better for SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the podcast hasn't been doing terrible. We've got, I think, what did we say? The high-low was like 3 listens. And I think we have, the last episode had 24 listens.
Oh wow,
Surprising. But
that's impressive.
I was pleasantly surprised. They were probably most of our family. So
Yeah.
it like, doesn't count.
Probably.
The Christopher Morris effect.
Yeah, the Chris Morris
guest.
effect.
Yeah.
Morris effect.
But the thing that, this isn't to dog too much on the Spotify podcaster analytics, but I'm going to dog on it. What's nice is like YouTube has an audience breakdown, podcast studio or podcasters or Spotify podcasters has that as well. But YouTube Studio goes deeper and it shows you drop off rate. So you get like average listening time,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
That's cool.
Spotify doesn't have that. So you don't know like if people are listening for 30 seconds or for like an
The whole
entire
time.
episode.
Yeah.
And if it's 30 seconds, it's counted as a listen?
I have no idea. No, I don't know. I think on YouTube, like if you actually have like a big following, you have to get over 1 minute worth of someone listening.
Oh really?
It's some type, or maybe that's like the new TikTok thing. I don't know. Nikki's brother has a big following on TikTok, and he gets paid for that. TikTok rolled out this new thing, which is like they're trying to encourage more longer tail videos, and so now they're paying you only if people listen for X amount of time.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Right? I think that's a good thing. Have good
Why is that a
content.
good thing?
Well,
What's wrong with the shorts?
It will help. I like TikTok a lot. I get all my news from TikTok nowadays. Everyone laughs at me for that, but if you follow the right creators, you can actually get very good news, unbiased in most instances, and a lot of instances very biased. But you take that with a grain of salt. But it forces the content creator to make better quality videos. If you want to get paid, make better stuff.
What do you guys think about this whole? It's been like Joe Rogan talked about it. It's a handful of people talked about it. That TikTok is China's 50-year war on the U.S. and that the content that they're showing us in the U.S. is like really dumbed down content, whereas the content that they show people in China is very educational content.
I've seen that. I've seen videos
So they're like
on
trying
that.
to create idiocracy in
Yeah,
the U.S.
well, this
No,
is the conspiracy. Is that basically, yeah, China's trying to dumb down the population in the U.S. through TikTok.
I don't buy into that. Maybe they forced the Chinese version of TikTok to only, post videos that are of value to society as a whole, whereas in the U.S. it's a free-for-all, and what you see is a dumbed-down version.
So you're saying that TikTok in the U.S. is a free market economy, and TikTok in China is
more controlled because it's a communist country. You got to control what's out there, whereas in the U.S., just go do what you have to do. We'll monitor hate speech and we'll monitor bullying and all that. But outside of that, do what you have to do. And it's a reflection of our society that we are, we'd rather seek out dumb down information and dumb shit rather than intellectual stuff. But, you know, like I said, you follow the right content creator, you're in good shape. Shout out to Under the Desk News and cancel this clothing company.
What?
What the heck? Whoa, what are you listening to?
Yes, I get a lot of my news from Under the Desk News.
All right.
What are they doing under the desk?
Yeah.
That's where she reports from.
Under the desk.
Under the desk.
Oh, I
where
almost
she
made
finds
a
a desk.
bad joke.
Even when she's traveling, she gets under a desk, I think, and starts reporting on news. And it's a very brief snippet of very important information. And she just reports the facts. It's great.
All right.
Check it out. Under the Desk News.
Send me a video.
And cancel this clothing company is fantastic.
What's that?
I don't know what this guy does professionally, but he uses just straight up data, reports the data, and follows the cookie crumbs to provide information using data.
About clothes?
It could be, I don't know why he calls it cancel this clothing company. I have never looked into the background on that. But an example would be he'll go to a Target or, you know, Costco or whatever, take a snapshot of the shampoo aisle, right? And then report back to the viewer who owns what. It almost always goes back to BlackRock or State Street or something like that. The entire thing, shelf of, you know, Head and Shoulders or Old Spice or whatever, it all goes back to one of these big organizations.
Good for BlackRock.
And he's created a public spreadsheet for everybody to encourage purchasing family-owned businesses' products in the U.S.
That's cool.
So I started buying
I
it.
thought you were going to say he's created a spreadsheet.
Yeah, a spreadsheet, you know, to follow. Like
No, I know. I thought you were going to say, though, he's created a spreadsheet for people to purchase family-owned businesses.
No. The products of certain family-owned businesses. So I'm very concerned about, you know, the well-being of my kid. And I started buying, it costs a little bit more, but I started buying directly from family-owned businesses' websites, their shampoo, body wash, and that's what.
How much more would you say it costs you?
I don't know.
Per month?
First off, Nabeel's budget's bullshit. Nabil says he spends like $5 per meal for his family of 4. It just doesn't make sense.
And it's all organic.
No, it just doesn't. No,
it doesn't exist.
But you got to take into account that my family, they eat like mice. Okay. That's also important. And I can feed my whole family.
So you always have a
for
lot of
$15.
leftovers.
What was that?
You always have a lot of leftovers.
It depends on what the dish is,
makes sense now.
right? So yeah,
I don't buy
on
it.
Sundays my wife and I
I don't
cook.
buy it either. It doesn't make it fundamentally makes no sense.
I've laid it out for you.
Yeah, but the problem is like Nabil will be like, we did meatballs, and he'd be like, we made 20 meatballs, but we only ate 3. So the other 17 meatballs
Went into the freezer.
they went in the freezer, so that doesn't count as part of our meal. And I'm like,
it's absolutely the right way to do it. You
if
count
you
it-
actually end up
you
eating
count the
them.
price value of the meal.
Here's
Here's
the
meal.
problem is like with that method, you have to make sure that you're eating your leftovers. But if you don't eat your leftovers, or if those meatballs sit there for 6 months, they go
nothing
bad.
sits in our freezer
Do you
for
not
6
eat your
months,
leftovers?
right?
Why
We
are you
always
assuming
eat
that
the
they don't
leftovers.
eat their leftovers?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, my thing is like when you put something back, especially in the freezer, for me, I just fundamentally forget about it. Like the only thing that's in the freezer for
You're
us,
asking an American family if they eat their leftovers.
I eat my leftovers that are in the fridge, but like I am not
Yeah,
good
there's certain
about
things
like
that-
reheating up sauce or something
In the
that I made
freezer.
that's
Certain
out of the freezer.
leftovers go in the
And
fridge,
same
and
way.
certain leftovers go in the freezer. It depends on what the leftover is. Sometimes we cook meals for with the intent that we're going to put it in the freezer and use that meal later on in the week because we don't want it to sit in the fridge. So when we're cooking on Sundays, we'll cook 2 dinners that can be eaten, a total of 4 times that week.
You know what I learned recently?
Huh?
Freezer burn does not pose any health issues. Like you could totally
course
eat.
not. Might
Well,
have, I think it has an impact on flavor, but
Flavor,
yeah. But I always grew up. I was like, oh, that's freezer burn. You throw that out. I didn't even think about it. It's just
You
like
thought
one of
it was
those
like,
things.
oh, freezer burn.
It's like, oh,
If I eat
freezer
that,
burn.
I'm
That's
dead.
no good. No, I mean, not that I really think about the health implications, but I don't know. I looked it up recently for some random reason. I don't remember. I was like, oh, it's like not a problem.
Yeah, you can eat it, but it does really affect the flavor. That's why I have a hard time buying frozen, or buying meat in advance and freezing it.
Yeah.
Which I should do. It's like the best way to do it, but the problem is
the most cost-effective way to do it.
It's the most cost-effective way to do it.
Yeah.
But the problem that I run into is like either A, those freezer sealed, the freezer sealed, vacuum sealed bags or whatever.
Yeah.
They eventually let air inside, and that's what causes the freezer burn.
Right.
how long do you keep stuff in the freezer, dude?
Well, no, I'm saying if you buy like a bulk amount of meat,
He wants to buy like a half a cow.
Costco
yeah, like a
sort
quarter
of-
cow. We should split a third cow,
I don't know what that
a
means.
steer, a third of a steer.
I haven't figured out how to cook steak yet. I know I live in Texas now, but I still haven't.
That doesn't even
figured
make
out.
sense. I don't. Rich doesn't cook. Do you cook steak?
I do watch a lot of chefs on
Very
TikTok,
rarely.
so I'm learning.
Hold on.
I
All right,
can, but it's very rare.
So we got to jump into some stuff, but
Yeah.
I am curious, Rich, where are you going this weekend?
I am going to Wyoming. Never been to Wyoming before.
Whoa. What part?
Jackson.
You're gonna go hang out with?
Not Jackson Hole.
What's the difference?
The difference is they're the same town, but they changed their name.
Wait, what?
Apparently. So, I mean, Jackson Hole doesn't exist on Google anymore.
Yeah, no, I did notice that. It's just
They
Jackson.
changed the name.
Why did they
Officially?
change the name?
I haven't looked into it, but apparently, down the grapevine, apparently somebody bought Jackson Hole, and they changed the name to Jackson legally.
Weird.
I don't know.
Jackson
Did
Hole's
you-
such a classic name.
Did
just
you get
gonna
an
trust
Airbnb
Google on
or
this one.
a resort sort of thing?
We got like it should be pretty nice. It's a cabin. I think it's called the Rustic Creek. And we get our own cabin, so we shouldn't share a wall, which is nice. We're gonna ski. We'll, go to a couple restaurants. I think I'm gonna take her dog sledding,
Oh, sweet.
which
Dog
should be
sledding.
cool.
You think Paxton could be the lead dog?
Absolutely not. No. Maybe.
Paxton's
Maybe the
hiding
lead
behind
if he didn't
Rich.
have to do all the hauling. But yeah, no, that should be fun. I think it should be good because I think if we went snowshoeing, she'd probably kick my ass halfway through. But dog sledding is like you get to be in nature, get to be around cute dogs, and you don't have to do too much.
Dog
too
sledding
much
sounds
work.
fun.
I think it's actually very physical. Dog sledding.
They probably have someone that's
not
actually.
I don't think.
They have someone run.
This
So
tourist
basically, you're
type
just
fashion.
you're just a passenger, and they have someone driving. The
I'm
sled.
sure in like actual dog sledding, like if you were surviving with dogs,
Yeah, I
it'd be a lot
suppose.
more difficult. But
Yeah. You should take her cross country skiing. That would be.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So when you book,
I don't even want to go cross country skiing.
I know.
Where was your first place to go to book this trip? What was your first choice? Website, service provider, travel agent, whatever.
Google Flights is always my
That was
first
it?
choice.
And
Always.
accommodation?
We ended up going through Expedia, but
Yeah, I like
Oh,
Expedia.
really?
I much prefer to not use those types of like
How far?
aggregate sites.
Well, how
but
far is it from town? Is it like an easy walk? I've never been to Jackson.
It seems like a pretty small town, so it shouldn't. I mean, we're on like the northern tip of the town, but we're gonna rent a car. It'd probably be like a 2-minute drive anywhere.
Yeah,
That's what it seems like.
everything's a lot closer
Yeah,
in these places.
That'd be
Yeah,
fun. Are you
yeah.
gonna learn how to ski?
yeah. I'm gonna teach myself to ski.
Rich is a pretty decent skier.
I'll get Sally a lesson.
Are you gonna do a one-on-one lesson, or are you gonna do like a group lesson?
Probably a private.
Private's the way to go.
I don't really yeah.
Because group lessons are just so like
Those are for kids.
You don't learn anything in those
you
things.
check out. Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah, should be fun.
I hope Sally likes it.
I hope so too. She hates the cold. But
What? Have you checked the temperature?
she's
as one
from
Canadian-
Michigan, so it's not like she doesn't know the cold.
Oh, right.
You know.
I was just about to say, dealing with the cold, it all depends on how warmly you dress. You can actually.
That's
enjoy
what
it.
I said.
That's
know.
all you got to do.
I know. Just need enough layers.
Let's just see. I'm gonna look up the Jackson, Wyoming. Oh, I mean, you guys are gonna have pretty good weather. The highs are in the 30s, and the lows are in like the 20s.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
The weather's gonna be nice. So I'm excited.
Fun.
It'll be fun.
Cool. All right. Well, let's jump into the primary conversation. Let me pull this up. So I was scrolling LinkedIn the other day, and I saw this guy, Dwayne Jeffrey. He calls himself a payment strategist. And he's talking about apparently Airbnb created a new cross-border surcharging fee. And so the story goes, let's see. Apparently cross-border spending, like Visa reported that their cross-border spending was up like 16%, and travel-related cross-border spending had gained 19%. Airbnb reported in November that their Q3 cross-border bookings were up 17% compared to last year.
When was that report?
This was last 2023.
So 2022 to 2023 is what they're saying.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
And so naturally, like for us, you guys know what that means, right? Like up 17%, that likely means that either A, they are incurring some gnarly FX fees that they didn't properly hedge. My bet is that they had them properly hedged and or like that was a thing. Or B, they're seeing it as a new revenue making opportunity for the business. So let me explain. So what Airbnb did is for any cross-border booking, right? So if you're in the US and you're booking, say you go to Italy and you're booking somewhere in the Tuscan Hills, that is considered a cross-border booking. And on top of your $1,000 that you're spending or whatever, there is now a 2% cross-border fee surcharge. And so they're kind of trying to mask it or whatever as like, oh, it's a surcharge. But the reality is what Airbnb just did is they decided to figure out a way to increase their margins by 2%.
Or are they trying to cover FX costs, or are they trying to make
no?
this
Let's
revenue? Like, do we know how they did it before?
yeah. So let me go a little deeper here.
Yeah.
So I was plugging around. So Airbnb onboards their hosts that are cross-border with Payoneer. So Payoneer is like an OG They were platform payouts and creator economy payouts and that sort of thing, shared economy payouts before it was
cool.
Before it was cool, right? They're a pretty big company now. Anyway, so they use Payoneer. So if I had to guess, this is just me guessing. I don't have valid, confirmation on all this. But if I had to guess, Airbnb has negotiated some type of rate with Payoneer that says, hey, we'll pay you 0.25% on all of our FX or cross-border transactions to our creators. And then they're marking up to their creator, or it's actually not to their creators, it's to the bookers, so the buyers, so like Rich, you, in the instance of Jackson, they're tacking on 2%. So they get to make the spread between the 2% and the 0.25%. And so like 1.75%, whatever. Question, I don't even know if this is a question, but how do you guys feel about this? The guy on LinkedIn was saying like this is shady.
What's his background?
He's a payments guy.
FX.
I think it's more like credit card payments,
He's
merchant acquiring, that sort of thing. But like, anyways, What are y'all's takes on this?
You want to go first?
Is this
I've got feels.
Is this
about
ethical?
this.
Is this good business? Is this just one more of Airbnb pissing everybody off by adding more fees?
Oh my God, I know. Just another line item.
Just
on
another
friggin'
line
Airbnb.
item. Like, come on. But it just kind of it affects our. This is like, if I was Payoneer, I'd love this for what it's worth.
I think all they're doing is managing treasury very well. It's about time they did it, right?
You think so?
Absolutely.
Go.
All right.
Go on, King. Go on, King.
So maybe I'm way off on this, but here's my understanding. I'm from Canada originally, and I usually use Airbnb when I go back over there. So if I'm booking today, February 1st, right? If I'm booking today for a family trip in 2 months, the Canadian host has a price that they want. I want to display my price in US dollars, and I lock in on something. The host does not get paid until I, finish my travel, right? Meanwhile, Airbnb has committed to me this amount of dollars and all their service fees and cleaning fees and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and the Canadian host is also guaranteed now, because it's all locked in, a certain amount of Canadian dollars on their end. That 2% covers the risk of the currency fluctuating between now and when that trip is complete.
So you're saying,
And 2% is reasonable against a major pair.
It's reasonable.
Now, here's where I think that 2% is going to widen, is that, Airbnb is also looking to expand in new markets like LATAM,
Yep.
right? It's a hot place to go. A lot of business travelers to LATAM,
Riskier
right? We're
currencies,
planning on going to visit some clients in LATAM, Chile, Colombia, Brazil. We'll probably end up, when the way we normally do at Colton is get an Airbnb and go down, right?
I make Nabeel sleep on the couch. It's
That's
great.
right. Anyway, so, when it comes to that now, you're dealing with a higher risk currency, which greater risk associated on the fluctuations and all this sort of stuff. So I think that 2% is actually minuscule and doesn't address the total risk on a trip from the U.S. to, LATAM, or a trip from here to Africa, or whatever.
Here's the thing. As a user, I don't want to see another gosh darn line item on my bill.
Well, how else are they going to do it?
Because they're large enough, we know that they're managing most of their treasury themselves. They should be able to, if not net themselves a 24-hour rate, but negotiate a 24-hour rate with whoever their provider is, Payoneer in this case.
I'm sure they have a very robust treasury program as well.
And then you're just displaying the price. Based on
to
USD.
To a regular person, how are you going to explain this is the FX charge that we're doing because it's risky?
Well, so
you just call it a service fee or whatever.
I'm actually, Rich. Both of these are really good points. What I'm wondering is, Nabs, with your FX background, why let's say like Airbnb is getting thousands and hundreds of thousands potentially of bookings per day, right? Yep. And you graph that, it's like, oh, they're getting hundreds of bookings per currency per day, whatever it is. Yep. All throughout various different times. So like taking the richest thing of like, why don't you have like a fixed rate every single day? Why can they not just do like a simple vanilla hedge daily on what those and lock in those rates?
Future bookings.
Yeah, like
I'm sure that there's an aspect of it. I mean, it's Payoneer and it's Airbnb. I'm sure they have a great treasury team and cash management people to manage those balances, right? But eventually, those balances have to also come home, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure they have a very robust.
But you would think too.
For hedging.
All right, hold on. And a lot of this assumes.
Do hedging? Do they have?
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have.
Or Airbnb just does it with their mix. Right?
So
business.
Okay, this is interesting because with your take, you're saying that, and I would get this makes sense too, because like say if the host really doesn't get paid out until that time period.
Yeah, the trip has to be complete.
The trip has to be complete, and then they get paid out. It would make a ton of sense that if you're doing a cross-border like a cross-border booking, and let's say it's January, I'm booking something. We're going to Portugal in May to see Taylor Swift, except I'm not going to be seeing Taylor Swift. I'm going to be outside at a cafe or a bar or something. We aren't going until May. If we book it now in January, February, March, April, May, 4 months, currency could fluctuate quite a bit in those 4 months.
Yeah.
So if Airbnb is saying like, all right, yeah, we've locked in that this host is getting 1,300 euros or whatever, and then it change, yeah.
I don't see the problem.
So
as
like
long as the customer has,
is fair.
as long as the customer or the recipient, let's say the homeowner in this case, knows how much they're going to be paid, it doesn't matter. And like that's just a liability on the books for Airbnb until it's paid out.
That's what that's what he's saying is that basically until it's paid out, that $1,300 isn't actually worth $1,300
exposed.
Exactly. It's an exposed amount of
And the
cash.
2% covers that exposure.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So like if they add the 2%, now they have a 2% buffer to make sure that they are not losing any FX risk.
They protect their revenue.
Yeah.
Right? It's about protecting existing revenue rather
But
than
then-
trying
but okay,
to
but hold on,
expand
hold on.
new
I don't see how it
revenues, right?
matters.
Yeah, no, I'm with Rich on this because what about this? If you're Airbnb and I book this, I'm doing the conversion into 1,300 euros immediately. So now it's just sitting
Your
in local
liability is
currency,
already
1,300
defined.
euros.
But then that's bad cash management,
Well, that's fair. It is, yeah.
right? That's bad cash management. What are you going to do with 1,300 euros sitting in Europe? I'm sure you have employees and a team over there, but you don't need the money there. You need it here.
Yeah, it's
This
just
is where your
managing. It's
people work.
managing float, yeah.
Right?
At that point,
It's
yeah.
bad cash management at that point.
Yeah, because like what they're likely doing is managing that float, putting it in some type of vehicle. Yeah.
Overnights, all sorts of stuff. We're talking about Airbnb.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
have a very sophisticated team, 100%. And they're international. There's cash everywhere.
So do you think they're making
can't
money
just-
on this 2% surcharge?
You're assuming,
I'm sure that at the end of the year, there's going to be a line item on their reporting that talks about the FX. It has to be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right
I mean,
on their-
17% year over year increase in bookings is pretty wild.
No, I think that's the pandemic travel boom.
No, it 100%
And
is.
then it's going to trail off. You're not going to see 17% again for a while.
Well, oh, you don't think you're okay?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think 2022 to 20, the numbers
It's
were
2022 to 2023.
Yeah,
people.
this year is going to be even less.
Millennials and Gen Z value experiences way more than pretty much any previous
that's
generation in the
fantastic,
past 100 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see it holding to some extent.
You'll have to wait 12 months.
I don't see it increasing another 17%.
I don't know about
5% makes sense.
Sure.
Modest amount.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is I don't see shrinkage is my point.
But Visa also seeing an increase, 19% increase in cross-border transactions.
Cross-border transactions. But it's the same thing.
Yeah, but
it's the
does
same
that
it's
also
the same experience
include-
as no
Shout out to why Visa bought Currency Cloud.
Does that also include cross-border, e-commerce spending?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Well, it just means I think
Any
it's saying like
cross-border
Yeah,
interaction.
because we've seen a lot of at Route Fusion. We've seen a lot of potential customers come to us to solve for e-commerce cross-border selling. Like there's been plenty, especially out of LATAM, that have been coming to us. And we're trying to solve it, and we've got solutions for them. But they just want to be able to collect funds in the U.S. and send it back home to the sellers who are selling small family-owned businesses who are selling product in the U.S. And we're helping them solve those things, right? But I'm sure that Visa is showing those numbers as well. Because I've seen a lot of growth in that.
Sure
area,
they are, 100%.
Right, the sales team, the revenue team, we're seeing a ton of that stuff come in,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just concerned, not even concerned. I was just curious, like the way that they wrote this thing on Airbnb is it was like very egregious. But like if you really think about it, if you put it in a way that Nabs is thinking about it, I think they have to be making some money.
Yes,
on
there's
that
going to
2%.
be there's going to be a
But it's
revenue
not-
line item, but it's not with intent. They're not an FX shop trying to create a revenue stream. They're just trying to de-risk.
Well,
And there's
I would
nothing wrong with
argue
I
that.
still don't like the implementation of it from a user perspective, from a product perspective or user
seeing the
experience
increase of
perspective.
2%, like what I would rather see.
I would just rather see the price go up. That's fine.
Yeah, I would rather it actually.
give me the price.
I would rather not see another line item. I would rather if I'm listing my house, and it was going to be well, I guess, but they can't. They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know what.
They don't know if someone booking that house in Italy is going to be from the U.S. or from Brazil.
No, it's just wherever the person is that's paying, you show them the rate in their currency.
Well, in most instances, if
Oh
it's
yeah, I guess you would just display it with a 2%
With a
markup.
2% markup.
Honestly, I would rather that too because like, and I get maybe Airbnb is trying to be super transparent, but at the end of the day, like when I like my biggest pet peeve with Airbnb, I go to book a place that says it's going to cost $1,000, and then I get there and the cleaning fee is like $400, and the local taxes or whatever are an additional 6%, and it's just like all of a sudden I look at my bill and I'm like, my $1,000 place that I was going to book is now $1,800. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to do this now. And then if I saw another 2% surcharge,
Right.
that would bug me.
There's some psychology there. It's like the same thing as the diagram that you see where it's like the 90% of operations that it takes to create a product versus like the last 10%, which is the product.
Yeah.
Consumers only care about what is the product. It's the same kind of concept there, right?
Yeah.
Like I just want to know how much I'm going to pay for something and how much
so you
that
want
thing
to see
costs.
transparency in invoicing
No,
more so than
I
anything
actually,
else, right?
no, I don't.
No, it's not actually. It's actually less transparent, but I would prefer that as a user, especially because now
It's just frustrating.
with Airbnb and VRBO, whatever price I display you is never what you end up paying because there's a cleaning fee on top of that. There's other
Well, the
surcharges
hotels are
on top
even
of that.
the hotels are even worse. The resort fee. Never expect the resort fee.
Yeah,
It's like a little hidden thing on there.
Sure,
Like, oh,
yeah, but we're
shit.
almost like trained to see those things with hotels and resorts type of
Resort
things.
fees
and
are
They're a
they
pain
in
they
the
bug
ass.
me too.
And like back in the day when Airbnb was not the massive company that they are today, and they maybe maybe there was a nominal cleaning fee, but it's not something you really paid attention to when you were booking. You were like, because you were going to be pretty close to the
I
rate
will
that,
say though, like the
that you
cleaning
saw.
fee aspect,
Yeah.
So Rich and I just went to Salt Lake City to go skiing, and we stayed in this pretty cool Airbnb that was what I would consider like. Rich brought this up. Is like this is what Airbnb was meant to be, and basically it was like this guy was like, "Hey, you guys are coming in," and he's like, "I can be out of the house on Friday at this time. I'm going to do an overnight." Hut trip or whatever.
Yeah, it was
in the
his
mountains.
home. It wasn't an asset.
No, it was
that
definitely
he
it
rented
was just
out
his house. Yeah.
Yeah, for additional income or as a business.
But as we left, I mean, we did our best to clean up. But I was thinking, I was like, I mean, just to have my house cleaned, like we're paying like $150, $200 every time that our cleaning lady comes. And I'm like, I mean, if you're this guy, like you're likely going to have to hire someone to come clean your house, and it's going to be somewhere between $100 and $200.
He definitely cleaned himself.
He definitely cleaned it himself. But point being is like cleaning fees. It does make sense, but then why not just work it into the price? Like why do you have to show the cleaning fee? Maybe it's because maybe there's something to do with like the cleaning fee doesn't get like Airbnb doesn't take revenue or doesn't take their commission off of the cleaning fee.
Right.
Like the cleaning fee is a
I don't
fixed
know.
cost.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's why they break it
But
out like that.
it's pretty clear that that Airbnb homeowners have used cleaning fee for their own benefit.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
it's
I mean,
so
why does a
clear at this
studio or
point, and
one
that's
bedroom
why
apartment have
it's
a
so
$200
aggravating as a
cleaning fee?
user, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, this is BS. so it's become one of those things, and it's frustrating to see. And you know what the 2% thing reminds me of? It reminds me of the way that TransferWise now, or formerly Wise.
No, the other way around.
TransferWise
Formerly Wise. Yeah, sorry. Formerly TransferWise, now Wise. How they display their FX fee, if you will.
Oh, yeah. You
I
know what?
still haven't figured that
You know what?
out.
We're going to talk about this.
What do you mean? It's so easy.
We're going to talk
I don't
about
know.
this.
There's somebody who
There's
comes
no
out of
FX markup,
FX.
Nabs. It's just a
Yeah.
variable fee.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're gonna yeah. All right. No, you know what?
Now
this is
shady.
this is happening. So, for those of you that know who Wise is, formerly TransferWise, cool company. They're public on the UK exchange, multi-billion-dollar company. They started out by basically a more transparent remittance app. TransferWise Wise did this really cool thing from a marketing perspective where they stripped off all the fees. There's videos of them like and their
stripping
employees
off all their clothes and running around.
And
London.
running around London and Wall Street.
Which was, brilliant,
That was
right?
brilliant marketing.
The marketing was phenomenal.
So what they did is they created and they consumerized the term mid-market rate. And so a mid-market rate...
That was their term?
Yeah, they're the ones that made it. It wasn't their term, but they consumerized it, right? So basically what they said is they launched an attack on the banks. And they said, the banks are screwing you over. They are charging you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% over what it costs them to actually move that money. And that cost to move that money or whatever is called the mid-market rate. For those of you, the mid-market rate, Nabeel, is the difference between the... Go ahead.
The middle point between buy and sell. It doesn't exist.
It's
You can't
Anyways,
buy
all right,
a
all right.
mid-market
So it's the
rate.
middle-
Anyway, that's another conversation. It really
So
pisses me
what
off.
Wise did is they came out and they said, "Hey, we're getting rid of we're giving you the real exchange rate." They also created this term called the real exchange rate.
Yeah.
And so the real exchange rate was effectively the mid-market rate. And then at the time, this is years ago, 7 years ago, their price was 0.75% over the mid-market rate. It was 0.75 for all their currencies. And that was just like, holy crap. Everyone hated them because it was margin compression at its finest.
Right.
And that, TransferWise blew up, right? They killed it. So fast forward today, right? One of the most difficult things that we face with customers coming to us is this idea of the mid-market rate and how much they want marked up over the mid-market rate. And like, there's just this whole thing about it.
Well, everyone has a different idea.
Everyone has a different idea about it. But it leads us to going to the TransferWise website, Wise's website. Now, and this is where we think it's really shady, and this is what we're going to talk about and expose a little bit. So the way that Wise does it today is they don't even tell you that they're marking it up 0.75%. What Wise does...
Or 1.5%.
Or 1.5% in some
or
cases.
2%.
What Wise does instead is they say, you're getting the real exchange rate, right? And they just like obsessively market the real exchange rate to all of their customers, right? And the real exchange rate is just the mid-market rate. It's the middle point between the buy and the sell.
That they're getting.
Yeah, but no. I mean, if you go to Google, it's the Google rate, it's the Bloomberg rate.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
It does match Bloomberg. Okay, gotcha.
But the difference is that when you go to send that $1,000 transfer and you look at your fees, if you add your fees up, right, and do the math, the fees are adding up to 0.75%. And then if you increase that number from 1,000 to 10,000, the fees add up to 0.65%. And then if you increase that from 10,000 to 50,000.
It's actually the shadiest way to go about
But get
Forex.
this, check this out. So then you increase it from 10,000 to 50,000 and it's like 0.55%. But then anything $100,000 and over, it switches. And the fee is no longer like a dollar amount of fees. It switches to 0.45%. And so what they're doing...
Wait, what?
Yeah, so what
they give you a markup if you go to over $100,000?
They tell you what the markup is instead of displaying the fees. Because what they're doing is they know that the average consumer that's
Doesn't
using their
know
app
about it.
doesn't know about the percentages. And they said, you know, we're not going to educate them on it. We're going to tell them that they're just getting the real exchange rate.
I've never tested of setting like
And
throwing
so-
in $100,000 or more in there.
And this is where I think it's just like, I get it, but it feels so shady, and it's such a lie for a company that prides themselves on transparency.
It's gaslighting.
It's gaslighting, yeah. And so what? And it's also even worse because they're basically saying, yeah, we have our users that don't know shit, and those users that don't know anything, they're just so stupid that they're gonna think it's the real exchange rate, and this is their fees. But anyone that actually moves real money, right, like $100,000 or more, they're probably a more sophisticated user, right? And they're going to want to know what the actual markup or the exchange rate is of 0.45%, right? Or whatever that number is. Yeah. And anyways, this is I have been
shady.
wanting, I think it's shitty.
So we're concluding now that Airbnb is not shady. They're just making a good, smart treasury decision.
I mean,
and TransferWise
not
is
shady.
shady, or Wise
But
is shady.
it's still okay. Look, the fact that they call it what it is, or they call it what is it? A convenience fee?
Yeah, they call it like a convenience fee.
That is
yeah.
shady.
Well, that's their marketing.
It's marketing.
That's
It's
their
marketing. Is what it is.
Just like who don't understand.
I get it. I get
No,
it.
they
but
understand.
I,
it.
but
Oh no,
marketing
you're saying they're
people?
marketing to people,
Yeah.
that
and
don't
that's why
understand.
I'd much prefer to see it as just part of the cost of the product, like not as its own separate line item.
But this is the part that makes that kind of like, you know, grinds my gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that I was so enamored with TransferWise back in the day because I admired how much they were advocating for change and price transparency in FX.
For somebody with such like a bold and what's the word? Honorable is not the right word. What's the
Well,
word I'm
they
looking for?
were just
But,
they were very mission driven, and
Right.
it was very
but it was
admirable.
for the
They
good
were-
of the
They were
consumer.
And
pissed off founders. Like let's
And it was them
change
against the
this
banks.
stuff.
And now what they're doing
Now
is they're
they're a
saying,
bank.
you know what, forget
They
it.
are.
It's
Now they're a
easier
bank.
for us to just not dumb it down and just call it what it is, call it the fee. And like and if you look at how they display it on the website, they just like over and over and over again, you are getting the real exchange rate, and these are your fees. You're not getting the real exchange rate. You're getting a marked up exchange rate,
Just like everyone
just like
else.
everybody else, but Wise as being deceitful in how they're displaying that rate to you. They're just hiding how they're displaying it. And I don't think I would have a problem with it if TransferWise stuck to how they used to do it, which was like educating people on the markup and the spread and all of those things. But now that they've like fundamentally changed that, and now they're just talking about like, this is it's just like, it's not who they originally were. Mm-hmm. And it's clearly deceitful to the average consumer. And it goes, in my opinion, it goes against everything that they work
campaign for. Yeah,
exactly. And now it's like, they're in my opinion, Wise is just as shady as the big banks at this point. Yeah, maybe they don't take as much as Citi or Chase or whoever, right? But like, they're still being deceitful. They're still not being honest with the consumer about how this is actually happening when they started out their entire business with transparency about how it all works. And that's my my thing about Wise.
Tell us how you really feel.
I know.
Oh,
It bugs me.
It irks me too. It's
irked me since day one, and you didn't believe me that I was like, this is shady stuff that TransferWise is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you're an FX expert, so which is
Oh, you heard it, guys.
yeah.
The actual FX expert says that I'm an FX expert.
Am I an
Wow.
FX expert?
you get there. You're a payments expert, which is awesome. We need that
Fair
too.
enough. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Anywho, what are we running? What's our time? 9:48. It's been what, like 30, 40 minutes?
We're
Rich, what
running-
time do you have to leave?
9:30.
Oh, nice. So 18
We
minutes
better
late.
wrap it up
Yeah, we got to wrap this up.
for Sally.
So yeah, this wasn't a bad episode.
That was a good episode.
Man, I can't wait to hear. It would be awesome if someone from Wise heard this podcast on that and responded.
And then their lawyer sent us a letter.
Yeah. Look at a little old Route Fusion talking shit about all the big dogs. No. I to back it up, we all respect Airbnb and Wise and everything that they've built, but we're just calling it as we see it. These are our opinions.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has been
Can't argue with the business that they put together.
Yeah, you can't argue with the business they put together. They're killing it. All right, guys. It is February 1st, the end of dry January for everyone that did dry January. Yep.
Crack open a beer.
I might crack open a beer today. It's been 31 days. End of dry January. It is 9:50 a.m. on a Thursday. It's sunny in Austin, Texas, at our East Austin offices. We got Nabeel Cuddy Siddiqui. We got Rich the Scap Daddy Scapatici. And I'm Colton. See y'all later.
See you guys.
That has the potential to be a good episode.
I'm your fool.